This is video 2 on graphing equations using slope-intercept form. The slope-intercept form of a linear equation, linear means straight line, is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, that's what comes before the x. B is your y-intercept, that's what goes after the x. At the bottom of the screen are the 3 steps to doing this. In this example, y equals 3/4 x minus 2. Minus 2 is my y-intercept, so plot the y-intercept, step 1. Step 2, the slope is 3/4, rise 3, run 4. So from this dot, rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, 3, 4, put your other dot, draw a line through it, and that is how to graph an equation using slope-intercept form. Here we have an equation, y equals x plus 3. I have to recognize first my y-intercept is 3, so I plot my point where it's going to cross the y-axis, and from that point, I count my slope. My slope is understood to be 1, which is understood to be 1 over 1. There's a 1 right here, which is understood to be over 1, so my slope is 1. I'm going to rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, or rise -1, run -1. It's going to go through every single grid because your slope is 1. If your slope was -1, it would go through every single grid going down. Since it's +1, it goes through every single grid going up. If you were asked what's the x-intercept, your answer is -3. Number 2, first step, find the y-intercept. From that point, count rise -1, run 3, rise -1, run 1, 2, 3. Or, since -1 over 3 equals 1 over -3, I can also rise 1, run -1, 2, 3. Either way, your line is the same. You have a negative slope. Number 5, x equals 5. That is not slope-intercept form, but if you have x equals a number, it's the x-intercept. So find the x-intercept, draw a line through it. There's your graph of x equals 5. If I had to graph y equals 1, well, that's giving me a y-intercept. So y equals 1 would look like this. Y equals a number is the y-intercept. It's a horizontal line. X equals a number is the x-intercept. It's a vertical line. Let's get back now to seeing a line already graphed and writing the equation in slope-intercept form, or just writing the equation any way we know how. Try number 4. Number 4 is a vertical line. When you have a vertical line, all you have is an x-intercept and no y-intercept. So you write the x-intercept equals 3. That's why I said in slope-intercept form or any way we know how, because technically that is not slope-intercept form because it's not y equals. Try number 5, where you have this horizontal line. When you have a horizontal line going through the y-axis, that tells you the y-intercept. So you just write y-intercept equals 1. Vertical lines are x equals whatever the x-intercept is. Horizontal lines are y equals whatever the y-intercept is. Try number 6. Number 6 has a slope of rise 1, run 1, 2, 3. So 1/3, and a y-intercept of -3. Try number 7. Number 7 has a slope of 1. It goes right through every single grid. Rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. I don't have to write a 1, it's understood. And my y-intercept is 0. I don't have to write a +0, that's understood. So that line is y equals x. Try number 8. Number 8 goes through every single grid in a downward slope. So your slope for number 8 is -1, which is most simply just written -x. And your y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is +5. If it asks for the x-intercept on number 7, it's 0, and the x-intercept on number 8 is 5. Try number 9. Number 9 has a negative slope, rise -1, run 4. So your slope is -1/4, and your y-intercept is -2. Try number 10. Number 10 has a slope of -1 over 1, 2, -1 over 1, 2, -1/2, and your y-intercept is +3. Try number 11. Number 11 has a slope of rise 5, run 1. So your slope is 5, steep slope because your numerator is so much bigger than the denominator. And your y-intercept is 0, so we don't have to write it. Y equals 5x is your answer. When the numerator is bigger, it's a shallow slope. When the numerator is smaller, it's a shallower slope. When the numerator is bigger, it's a steeper slope. Do number 12. Number 12 has an undefined slope, vertical line. So your answer is y equals whatever the y-intercept is. In this case, it's -1. Y equals -1 is your equation. Here we have an equation that needs to be graphed that is not in slope-intercept form. It's in what's called standard form. I could show you how to graph using standard form, or we can just put everything in the slope-intercept form. Then we only have to learn one way to graph. Now, I could do this. I could isolate my W on the left side by itself, put in slope-intercept form by subtracting 3x from both sides. 6 minus 3x wouldn't be slope-intercept form, but -3x plus 6 would. I can't have a coefficient in front of the y, so I would have to divide both sides by 2. Here you have a slope of -3 divided by 2 and a y-intercept of 6 divided by 2, which simplifies to 3. You can do it that way, but you can move a term across an equal sign anytime you want to. All you have to do is change its sign. I want this 3x to be moved right here on the other side equal sign. I can do that. All I have to do is change its sign. So positive 3x on the left becomes -3x on the right. I would rather do it that way. Then divide both sides by 2. And the rest of it's the same. -3 over 2 is your slope. 6 over 2, which simplifies to 3, is your y-intercept. Now we're ready to graph it. I'll do one real quick without graph paper. My y-intercept is +3. Rise -1, 2, 3, run 1, 2. There's my line. Just that quick. On number 2, I have another equation in what's called standard form. We're going to put it in slope-intercept form. This x needs to be put right here. I can move any term I want to across equal sign. All I have to do is change its sign. So -x on the left becomes +x on the right. This +3 or +3 stays. And now I can graph that really quick. My y-intercept is 3. My slope is rise 1, run 1. And my line would look like that. Unless I had graph paper, I could make it look better. I'm going to leave example number 1 up here for you to look at as needed. You try number 10, 2x plus y equals 1. Just put it in slope-intercept form. And let's look at it. To put it in slope-intercept form, I need that 2x to be on the right side, so it becomes -2x. There's my answer. Y equals -2x plus 1. Now let's look at what that graph would look like. My y-intercept is +1. My slope is rise -2, run 1, rise -2, run 1. I can also rise +2, run -1. And my line looks like this. Try number 11. Put it into slope-intercept form, and then I'll graph it for you. First step, I need to take this negative 3x, put it on the right side equal sign when it goes. I can do that. I just need to change the sign when I move it across the equal sign. I have one more thing to do. I can't have a coefficient in front of that y, so I have to get rid of times 2 by dividing both sides by 2. And my answer is y equals 3 over 2x minus negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Your answer is y equals 3 over 2x minus 2. So when I graph that, my y-intercept is negative 2. I rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2. There's my line. Try number 12. On number 12, I need to move the x over, so I change its sign. I leave the positive 9 there. I've got to get rid of times 3, so I divide both sides by 3. That gives me y equals negative 1 over 3 is my slope. 9 over 3 simplifies to 3 is my y-intercept. So I'll graph that for you real quick. 1, 2, 3 is my y-intercept. Rise negative 1, run 3, or rise positive 1, run negative 3. There's our line. Try number 13. Just put it in slope-intercept form. To put it in slope-intercept form, I first move my 3x over. It becomes negative 3x. Then to get rid of times negative 5, I divide by negative 5. That gives me y equals negative 3 over negative 5. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So your slope is positive 3/5 x. And 20 divided by negative 5, different sign, negative answer. Your y-intercept is negative 4. So for me to graph that, y equals 3/5 x minus 4. Minus 4, rise 3, run 5. There's your line. Try number 14. Put it into slope-intercept form. On number 14, when I move my 3x over, I have to change the sign. It becomes negative. I've got to get rid of times negative 1, so I divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 3 over negative 1 becomes positive 3. 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. So my equation is y equals 3x minus 1. I'll graph it really quick. Minus 1 is my y-intercept. My slope is rise 1, 2, 3, run 1. Rise 1, 2, 3, run 1. My line looks like this. Try number 15. Write that equation in slope-intercept form. First step, subtract 5x from both sides, or just move it over and change the sign. I don't have to write plus 0. That's understood. To get rid of times 4, I divide by 4. And my equation is y equals negative 5/4 x. So my y-intercept is understood to be 0, and my slope is negative 5 over 4. 0 is my y-intercept. Slope is negative 5 over 4, or positive 5 over negative 4. So my line looks like that. Let's try a word problem. Boo charges $10 up front plus $5 a day. Let's make that $5 an hour. Boo charges $10 up front plus $5 per hour to babysit. Write this in an equation in slope-intercept form. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I could say that the total charge, I could say C equals $5 times however many hours they work plus the $10 upfront fee. Or if I wanted to use y and x, total charge could be y equals $5 times x can be how many hours they babysit plus the $10 $10 upfront fee. So either one of those would be an equation in slope-intercept form. I have created a quadrant 1 graph here. I'm supposed to title my graph. I could title it Boo's Babysitting. You definitely need to label your X and your Y axis. I labeled my X axis as my time in hours, 1 through 7. And I labeled my Y axis as my money in dollars, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, going vertically on the Y axis. We need to remember the X axis is independent. Time is going to tick on no matter what happens. The Y axis is dependent. How much money you make depends on how much time you spend babysitting. So when I graph this one, Boo charges $10 up front. That's for her lunch. Then she charges an additional $5 per hour. So every time she babysits 1 hour, she makes $5 more. Remember, vertically, these are worth $5 each. So she would rise $5, run 1 hour, rise 5, run 1, rise 5, run 1. Here's my line. And I could look at the chart and say, okay, 1 hour is $15, 2 hours is $20, 3 hours is $25, 4 hours is $30. Or I could plug in 4 hours and I would also get $30. What happens on the y-axis depends on what happens on the x-axis. The amount of money you make babysitting depends on how many hours you work. Y-intercept is 10. Slope in this case is rise 5, run 1, rise 5, run 1. The slope is $5 per hour. Remember, slope and rate of change are the same thing. If you're asked, what's the rate of change? Well, my rate changes $5 every time I work another hour. $5 every time I work another hour. So your rate of change is 5, your slope is 5. Here we are at the website Yahoo Finance, and I typed in the ticker symbol for Apple stock. You can buy 1 share of Apple for about $133 for a share. This is today. Today, in general, Apple had a positive slope. The correlation to time today was positive. It started down here at around 130, and as the day went on, if I were plotting different points, I'd have a scatter plot, but in general, we have a positive slope today for Apple. What was the slope or rate of change? Well, I can estimate it. I rose about $3 per 1 day. If I wanted to do it by day, my slope is 3. If I want to do it by hour, my slope is 3 over 8 hours, so it's 3/8. Now, if we extend this out, here's year to date, almost a 0 slope year to date. Let's look at 1 year. Definitely a positive slope 1 year. We go from about $70 up to $133. That's a pretty big rise over run. Let's go out 5 years. Positive slope. Let's go out since the company began. It's such an increase. It's kind of showing a flat line from 1984 all the way up to the early 2000s. And then look how steep the slope is right here between 2018 and 2021. Very steep slope. Let's look at Amazon. All right, this is 1 day chart of Amazon, positive slope. Let's look at 1 year, positive slope. Let's look at the stock of GameStop. GameStop is what's called a meme stock on the Reddit boards. It's very popular, but notice what happened today. We have a negative slope, which means the stock lost value today. It went from about 170 down to about 158. So we lost $12 per 1 day. Let's extend this to 1 year and look at this. Oh, too long. Let's look at year to date. What happens to this stock? shoots up, down, shoots up, down, stays flat, shoots up, down. It's just all over the place. Now, in general, year to date, you have a positive slope. 1 year, it's just a very unusual chart to see that spike up and down like that. But if I could start right here and go to right here, that would be a negative slope between those dates right there. Between January 29th and February 4th, we had a very steep negative slope. Another popular thing to invest in is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is between $55,000 and $60,000 for one, but you can buy into it here at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust for only $50. So here's a 1 day. About flat, maybe slightly down. It's green because it's up from yesterday. Let's look at the 5 day. 5 days about flat, but kind of down. Let's zoom out here. Year to date, overall a positive slope. 1 year, positive slope. 5 years. Now we're going to see those spikes right here, like GameStop. This one shot up, shot down, stayed down for a long time. That's actually a whole year there. And then here recently, it's been hot and shooting back up, but it may end up like what happened over here and it shoots down again. Let's look at a great stock like Home Depot. Home Depot, positive slope today. Let me show you a 1 year chart. Positive slope from right here in August to February, it's almost a zero slope, and then a very positive slope here at the end. 5 year chart, you can see right here where the coronavirus hit and it went down, but it's recovered from there. Let me just show one more. I think at Visa would be a pretty chart over 5 years. Yep, here's a 5 year chart of Visa. Just a pretty upward trend, making money all the way up, except for right here, coronavirus. We had a little correction. If I max that out, nice, pretty upward trend. Slope is used in a lot of other things. I just use stocks just for an instance, but slope and correlation and different things like that are really used in a lot of different things in everyday life. So one more time, slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept, and the slope formula is the difference in your y's over the difference in your x's, which is also rise over run. Slope is rise over run. It's the difference in your y values over the difference in your x values. Thank you.